For those of you watching at home, perhaps quarantining from COVID-19 or away on a vacation travel and dialing in, I wanted to let you know that I've told the people in the room that we're going to do our Candles of Joys and Sorrows now. If you're signed into the YouTube platform, you can type in the comment box something of a joy or sorrow you would like to lift up in community. For anyone in the room here, is there anything that you would like me to be sure to, Michael can probably light the candle for us, and I will write down a note to include in the pastoral prayer. Is there anything of joy or sorrow you would like to lift up today? Howie. So congratulations, Howie, having your whole family here and grandchildren and going off to Susie together. For those of you who don't know Susie, it's one of those things with two UUs in it. It's the Southeast UU Summer Institute. Good. Tom. Wonderful. And so for those of you listening on headphones or online, Tom and Joyce are upping Howie by saying they have 7 family here, all the way from Tallahassee. Okay. Wonderful. It's wonderful to see families here this morning. Other things on your hearts. I will mention on my heart, I believe we have 8 congregants right now currently quarantining from COVID, including our own R.K. Young, our administrator. Yeah. So my heart goes out to all of those who are dealing with Omicron, probably BA.5 variety that's very contagious out there. Let's light a candle for those things that might have come in online that we can't see, and we'll hold on to these as we enter into this community now. Our joys, our sorrows, we are now here, held in the love of this Unitarian Universalist community. And so I welcome you all. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. I am Bob Renjilian, the minister here, and if you've been visiting in the last few weeks, you may have noticed I haven't been in the pulpit. I am so pleased to have had a few Sundays without sermon prep so that I could prep other things. I'm getting ready for a board retreat this week, for example, and putting together other projects and things so that we can do that. But I am so glad you're here. If you're here for the first time as well, welcome. We're glad to have you. We are the kind of welcoming, opening congregation in which I doubt if you can think of a category of yourself that would be in any way excluded from the diversity of this group. And if you feel like you're the only one of you in the whole world that's anything like what you are, thank you for bringing your diversity to this space. And we'll start off our service together with a couple of announcements, because it's our community. One of the things that we have coming up is a retreat at the Mountain, a Unitarian Universalist Camp and Conference Center. And I bring it up today because the discounted rate of signing up for the September 9, 10, 11 sleepover at the Mountain is ending this week. So if you're thinking, oh yeah, I do want to join Reverend Bob and others in community and enjoy the beautiful natural setting and campfire and, well, just a whole bunch of outdoor fresh air way up on top of a mountain. with us all. You get it cheaper if you decide this week. We have a special announcement now. I'll be calling forward Keem to come up and give now for more. But as he's coming up, I want to let you know you are welcome to grab your coffee and cookies and go outdoors if you want. You can stay inside if you want. I just remind you that Transylvania County, as of this week, has raised its COVID threat level to yellow from green. So those of you who want to take off your mask to eat may want to think about doing it outdoors. Thanks.
I'm going to talk to you about the UUTC circle dinners. Who remembers the circle dinners? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Okay. The last circle dinner that we had, it was in March 2020. We stopped that doing it really fast because COVID, we're thinking back in the day, will kill us all. Most of us, fortunately, we survived. Maybe, as Reverend Bob said, maybe we're starting some kind of new normality. And we'd like to see if we can reorganize again the circle dinners, see if we can do them again. Circle dinners, for those of you who don't know what it's about, is a group of friends and members of a UUTC that we get together for a dinner. We have hosts and we have a guest. Between 4 to 8 guests plus the host, and we go in the host house and we have a dinner together. The purpose of this dinner is a human interaction. It's not necessarily a dining experience. It's a human interaction to develop relationships between the people that we join the UTC. To minimize the possibility of infection by COVID, we will ask that all the people that attend the dinner have been tested the morning of the dinner and they come out negative. And also, we would like to encourage the host, if it's possible, to have the dinner in an open-air part of the house. The dates for the dinner, and here's a mistake, it was my mistake. There are 3 Saturdays, that's fine, but it's not August 26, it's August 27. August 26 actually was a Friday, okay? August 27, September 24, and October 22nd. And the hall is a signing list. Those of you that are interested to attend the dinner, as a host or as a guest, can put your name over there and the date you would like to organize the dinner or attend the dinner. One thing that we would like to ask you is our experience in the past, we had more guests, people that were interested in being guests, the people interested in being hosts. It's very difficult to organize dinners if we don't have hosts. Then we'd like to encourage you, as much as you possible, to take the role of host. You can attend one dinner or you can attend all the dinners. In fact, the more dinners we attend, better. Or more dinners we attend, we're going to develop more relationships. If you have any questions, make sure to contact me, and you have ways to find my telephone number and my email address. Thank you very much.
Our opening words today are by Margaret Kelp. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, to reconnect, to know ourselves to be at home, here on earth, under the stars, linked with each other.
I invite you to rise and sing as you're willing and able. Number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine.
I'd like to invite you to join us for the chalice lighting and read with me in unison the words which will appear on the screen. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
I've got a story here. It was adapted from the work of Saul Teplitz. It was from a workshop that I attended decades ago. It's called A Parable on Being a Scotty Dog. Now, I remember from children's stories, illustrated children's stories, what a Scotty dog looked like. I don't know if all the ages of people in this room know Scotty dogs because, well, we see more labs or pit bulls now, or any number of different kinds of mixes of dogs. But Scotty dog is what? Maybe about that tall. Yeah. pointy ears, kind of curly hair, as I remember, not a short, like a black lab kind of hair. And friendly. I remember friendly. Okay? So for those of you who couldn't imagine a Scotty dog before, now maybe you're getting a little picture of it. So here's the parable on being a Scotty dog. There once was a Scotty dog who found himself lost and alone in a neighborhood of Irish terriers. Every time the Scotty walked down the street, the terriers would bark at him in rage. Let's do that. I don't know if terriers would understand that accent, but it's okay. So the Scotty dog was quite puzzled and hurt. But instead of wondering what bothered the terriers, the Scotty dog began to analyze themselves. Perhaps the terriers barked at him or her because he or she was different. So therefore, the Scotty dog tried very hard to be like the terriers. He began to wag his tail as the terriers did, just like them. Prick up his ears, her ears, just the same. Even barked as perfect an imitation as could be achieved. Let's do that again. And still, the terriers barked angrily at the Scotty dog every time the Scotty dog walked by. So then the Scotty dog decided to call in experts to write scholarly dissertations which would prove the greatness of the contributions of the Scotties to canine civilization. Here's a good way to do this. Soon there were mountains of statistics to point up to the courage of the Scotties in rescuing people from burning buildings and drownings and, everything like that. Yay, Scotty dogs. Unfortunately, the only ones that read the books like that and those statistics were other Scotty dogs. Whatever the Scotty did to impress or imitate left the terriers completely unmoved. They continued to bark as in the past. Finally, the Scotty decided that since they were a Scotty, they better act like a Scotty and live like a Scotty and be the best possible Scotty they could be. And if the terrier still barked, there was nothing that Scotty could do about it. We'll get back to the moral of the story as we get to the sermon. I now ask you to enter into this time of prayer and meditation with me. Spirit of love and life, we are gathered here. Remember the words of the song, to let our life shine, let it shine, let it shine. On this day, with the sun out, may we be reminded that there is warmth in the way in which human beings shine on one another. May we remember, in the gloomiest of times, knowing that we are not alone, we are held in love, that a smile makes a difference. On this day, we also recognize that our love and our glow for one another needs to extend to reaching out to those friends we have not seen. Perhaps we don't know the depths of what they're dealing with. In particular, we lift up the Knulls, the McDonalds, K and RK, and others who are currently quarantined from COVID-19. Perhaps we have family members further away and sending out our spirit of love needs a tangible thing, and may you, Spirit of love and life, remind us to pick up the phone, to FaceTime, to reach out. We rejoice as well in the ways in which we are joined to one another and we see and share space with one another. On this particular morning, we rejoice with Howie and family for being present here, and with Tom and Joyce and their family here as well. May all of us, in our travels, in our being with one another, remember, again, this little light of mine. We're going to let it shine with one another. The prayers of our hearts, the thoughts of our minds we hold now in a moment of silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, Amen. All right, this is the part where I work up a sweat. We've been raising special funds for each month of the year. There are envelopes in the collection plate or ways in which you can do special collection by clicking online. This month is the Dignity Project. This is the last Sunday in which we can collect, I believe, for the Dignity Project. And we're doing this one twice because the last time we were doing it, it seemed people were distracted. Was it Omicron? Was it the Christmas season? What was it? But we decided what we raised for the Dignity Project wasn't enough. So, personal hygiene items, condoms, diapers, wipes. Condoms are controversial right now, right? Or they will be politically soon, because there has to be something to be controversial in order to get people motivated to go to the polls. Basics are needed. So why did I say I'm going to work up to a sweat on this? Because this is the second time we're trying. And we want this project that UUTC does to be able to have enough to make it through the year. And so I am tugging and pulling. And I've been told that if you're a good leader, you don't ask other people to do anything you wouldn't yourself like to do. So I went to the ATM this week. And I went and got one of these things with a 20 on it. Because that's all the ATM ever gives me, things with 2 zeros on. And I'm going to put it in one of those envelopes. Now, we also will accept your money outside of an envelope to go towards this congregation, because this congregation's worth it too. In whatever ways you want to be generous this morning, in whatever ways your wants match up with what you can pull from your pocket or your pocketbook, we will accept. We will rejoice in what you give. And maybe it won't be such sweaty work in the future. We will now receive the morning offering. Thank you, Carlene. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Joanna. Can you tell? These are really full. Thank you. Thank you. What is given in love, we receive with great joy, and we say thank you. The reading I have this morning is from the Bhagavad Gita. I got to study a little bit of Eastern religions in theological school, and pick up bits and pieces here and there, and then vastly mutilate the meaning and then sit with it a while and try to get closer to what it means. There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of these kings, nor is there any future in which we shall cease to be. Just as the dweller in this body passes through childhood, youth, and old age, so at death, that person merely passes into another kind of body. The wise are not deceived by that. Feelings of heat and cold, pleasure and pain are caused by the contact of the senses with their objects. They come and go, never lasting long. You must accept them. A serene spirit accepts pleasure and pain with an even mind and is unmoved by either. That spirit alone is worthy of immortality. That which is non-existent can never come into being, and that which is never can cease to be. Those of us who have known that inmost reality know also the nature of is and is not. That reality which pervades the universe is indestructible. No one has the power to change the changeless. Bodies are said to die, but that which possesses the body is eternal. Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning. I never thought that there could be a love like yours and mine.
I never dreamed that I would see the day that I would find a love that feels this way. But here we are today, and now the only thing we really need is time. We live on borrowed time. No one can be sure when the loan will finally come due. But I'm loving all of mine. I know what time is for. I've borrowed it so I can spend it all right here with you. There was a time when I believed that life held guarantees.
There was a time when I was sure my future was secure.
But life had other plans. The future's in God's hands, and knowing that has let me live and love you more. We live on borrowed time. Yesterday is past. Tomorrow seems a million miles away. But I promise you that I'm gonna make love last by living every moment, every hour, every day.
Now we may have a year,
And we may have a lifetime. No one can be certain what the future will allow. But you and I are here, and this time is the right time. And one thing that we know is that we have each other now. And now we live on borrowed time. Let's celebrate and sing as we walk bravely into the unknown. 'Cause we're gonna be just fine. Whatever life may bring, we'll face it all together, and we'll never be alone. We live on borrowed time. Let's celebrate and sing. We may not have forever, but our time will be our own. Our own.
Thank you, John and James. Thank you, choir. A lovely piece this morning. But what do others think of us? It's the question I had in mind as I was preparing for this Sunday. What do others think of me? What do others think of us? What? Oh no, what do they think? See, I knew you'd get why that story fits here. There you go. Yeah. For me, as a Unitarian Universalist, I was really lucky being raised in such a way that I was told that diversity was good, that being myself was an okay thing to be. We had adults around us with hang-ups. The congregation I grew up in, which I really love the basis of grounding that congregation gave me, had some issues. They became particularly clear when I was a teenager. I'm not quite sure why it is that teenagers can spot the inconsistencies the way they do, but by the time I became a teenager, I began to see some things. My mom seemed to be on every committee in that church, or at least was dragging me along while doing committee meeting. I'm the kind of minister who ever since then has decided that I do not want to see our teams setting up meetings on a Sunday morning, because that means the entire family has to be dragged along to sit there forever and occupy themselves. Now, I was seen as a pretty good kid. I liked listening to the stories of adults around me. I liked to be helpful. I think I may have told you a story already of one of those things that was kind of odd in that congregation. That congregation had this kind of anti-church feeling to it. Now, how you can be a church and be anti-church, that would take more than one sermon. That's not today's sermon. But I noticed, for example, I wanted to help set out the hymnals on a Sunday morning. And because there was nothing else useful for me to do, and we didn't have tablets or anything I could board, look at, and play games or do whatever. So I wanted to be useful, and I wanted to be seen as a useful person. And so I said, can I help put out the hymnals? And the adult said to me, what? No, we don't call them hymnals. Other churches call them hymnals. We don't call them hymnals. And I think I've told you, the front cover says hymns on it, so it's like, yeah. The other thing that I noticed is it used to be a combination of kind of a congregation that started in people's living rooms that merged with a declining church, a big old downtown church. And when they merged with the downtown church, they sold off the downtown church building and found a really nice little farmhouse and barn that they could convert. Kind of think along the lines of you folks going and converting this gas company truck garage into a worship space. And they did that with their farmhouse and their barn. And they'd say, because they didn't want to talk about being a church, they'd say, we're going to the barn this Sunday. Okay. And then they put up a sign, but this farm was off the beaten track. Almost no one could know where this place was. I mean, you could look it up in the phone book and it would tell you. And then they let the bushes grow up higher than the sign. And I'm thinking, what's the issue with these folks? Now, I can say that because it was my congregation and I loved them, and I joined them when I was 14, despite the fact that they let the bushes grow up around the sign. All right. But what do others think of us? And I wonder, for the people in that congregation, what they thought. We used to be visible. We used to be right downtown. We used to be, now we're on the beaten path, off the beaten path, and we're hiding our sign. Our first hymn this morning, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine," I learned that. I, as a kid, was being taught that's what I should do. I should be me. I should let the glow of who I am be out there, no matter what. It wasn't that they all went and hid. We also helped out at the food bank and served meals. And we collected food in the lobby. And we did all sorts of things. We made a difference being in that community. But I wonder. That workshop I mentioned, I got the Scotty Dog story from, was being led by Duffy Spencer on personal presence, human relations, self-management, training. And that person was helping to teach us Unitarian Universalists to respond better to folks with self-esteem issues or our own issues as religious leaders. And I'm really glad that I've thought about the fact that I feel confident in being myself. And I want that to be passed on to the kids that we raise and the adults who come to us who may not feel confident being themselves. We want to feel connected to one another. People with low self-esteem tend to, as the list here says, believe that they're not lovable or loved, may view life in a negative way, have negative self-talk, or rarely are able to take any kind of risk, and allow other people to make decisions for them. Maybe don't feel entitled to have rights or to speak up for their rights. Maybe it goes beyond that, and if you're going to do anything, you decide you have to do everything perfectly. Maybe you distrust people who seem to like you, because how could that be? I'm thinking of a Scotty Dog in a neighborhood of terriers, and I think of UUTC in Transylvania County. I think of us and the messages that we have for people as being so different that we would have a lot of people barking at us. Now, I've been told that the members of our congregation who show up at or had been showing up at the courthouse to do Moral Mondays know that there's a particular string of raised pickup trucks with loud exhaust systems that just keep going back and forth in front of them. I'm going to call them the terrier dogs. There are some of us who managed to speak out in letters to the editor. And I'm going to share a story, and because it's been shared by more than one person, even though you know it's you who told me this, you're not the only one who told me this. Read a letter to the editor and kind of feel like, oh, what am I going to get back from this one? To be able to speak up. Now, that takes a certain sense of esteem. I have something to say. I notice this congregation does not hide its sign behind bushes. And it's on a main route, a really main route. A main route with a lot of noisy terrier trucks going back and forth. But how are we seen? I mean, as an individual, each of us Scotty dogs amongst the terriers, or whatever mutt you would prefer, each of us, is something unique and lasting in this world. There's a old Jewish saying, Zusia, the rabbi, explaining to students, when I die and am confronted in death of, it's not going to be, how come you weren't Moses? Is the perfectionism in this? It's not like, no, I didn't have to do everything perfect. I don't have to be Moses. The question is going to be, how come you weren't Zusia? Now, my misreading of the Bhagavad Gita goes that direction. It says those things that are going to exist, that are real, and they're going to keep on being real, even when our bodies go away. To me, that's the Zusia little story here. To me, that's the Scotty dog. The reality of the person's uniqueness to the world. There's a whole theology that goes with this idea that the world was created. The Creator, in doing something unique, brought something new into the world and wants to see new things arise. And it was good. And I said that before to you once before, and then invented people, and it was good. And then those people ended up thinking up all sorts of things. They thought up iPhones. They thought up naming dogs terriers. They thought up any number of things. Yes, and Alfred Nobel thought of dynamite and munitions, and then wanted to be remembered for a Peace Prize. I mean, we have all sorts of really interesting creativity from human beings. And the whole theology is that is being like the divine. Every time there's something new invented, something new that comes into being that's real, that is like creation itself. Now, if I read the Bhagavad Gita with all of this, it's saying what's real will be lasting. And if I pair that up with Zusia, if you're not Zusia, or fill in your name here, the realness of who you are never comes into being. There's something snuffed out, not the little light of mine that's going to shine, 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 but something that's hidden. Maybe because we're afraid. Maybe because we don't like those trucks driving past. Maybe we don't like the terriers barking. Hillel said it this way, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, who am I? And Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And I think that's what I'm trying to preach here. From that time at which we are taught somehow, some way, that we have to keep our head down, we should stay silent, or we'll get punished if we really are who we are. Now, this is the place where I'd like to nurture that idea that we are something unique and we have to be theologically grounded. We have to be ourselves because the world needs that truth, that realness to it. I mentioned earlier in this service that one of the things I've been doing while you're giving me time away from preparing sermons is getting ready to lead the board retreat this week. Thank you for the place, Eleanor and Peter, to go to retreat to. A beautiful place. We're going to get away from here. We're going to not think about the business of this place and all of that. We're going to go and sit for a Saturday morning and then break bread together for a meal. And one of the things, the documents I looked at is the Vision 2020, 2025. And I'm looking at it, and it's saying how we want to be this place of spiritual depth, and we want to be this place that lifts up social justice. And I'm not seeing a thing in it about letting people know we're the Scotty dog. There was nothing in that vision that said we need to be known. And I'm trying to remember the stories that I hear in porch visits of well, how people found us. How in the world can you find this place if we're not saying who we are? I'm not talking about all the scholarly articles we could turn out that only Unitarian Universalists will read and say, yay, yay, look at this UU stuff. I'm talking about what is it, besides a sign on the side of the road, that allows people to know that we're right here. I understand for the first time, we were at the Halloween Fest, and we had a booth. That's a big deal. That's letting people, that's not in our vision, but that's letting people know we're here. How do people see us if we don't even show up until 2021 in a street fest? A few of us, I see John and James, and I think Kevin was there and his family. A few of us went to the Hendersonville Pride last month, and we showed up, and the Episcopalians were there with a booth, and the Presbyterians were there with a booth, and neither the Hendersonville UUs nor the Brevard UUs had set up a booth. How do people even know who we are? So this is my challenge to you as ministers, but sitting down with the documents who are saying who you envision you will be during these 5 years from 2020 to 2025, and saying to you, the turtle doesn't move unless it sticks its neck out. Yeah, it's on my cheat sheet here. Neat little quote. And I think that's what's going through my mind as I'm off the treadmill of writing sermons every week. I'm thinking, how do we be known? How do we not only let you all know you can be yourself in this safe space, and yeah, I encourage you to do those letters to the editor, and maybe even sign up to do things great in the community. How do we also get known for who we are? So you don't have to look us up. You don't have to guess as you drive past a sign and say the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County is just like Kiwanis. Or, I don't know who they are. We saw folks drive past here every moment of every day. And do they know who we are? So, that's my challenge here. To be your minister and dealing with a vision statement that doesn't say we should be known. And to wonder, if we don't take a risk and let people know, how many folks are being left out? Now, I'm not saying you aren't known. You are. You had, and I've said this time and again, you had 16, whatever number of teens who had taken the OWL class, only about 3 of which were on our rolls. That means our ability to offer sexuality education that's true and real. This is a unique thing that we do. The way we bark as Scotties on that issue is known through some circles out there. That's good. So it's not your minister trying to guilt trip you. Let me stomp on your esteem here. It's not that. It's saying, how can we have more of that? How can we make sure that you as a person sitting in this room feel good about being you out in this world where everybody's barking at you for being different, and feeling the love of this community? And then how can we as a community say, we are here. We exist. How do other people see us? I hope it's for ourselves. I hope it's for who we really are. Maybe you wanted a different sermon this morning, but that's one you get. in the end, I do think it's theologically an imperative for us to develop each of our own selves into who we are. To remember that what we are, even as each of us passes away, continues on as some truth, as some ripple in a pond, some creativity expressed in uniqueness. And then together, to be known for that. I have a closing quote from Erica Hewitt. To be a Unitarian Universalist means we'll never be done with the work of telling the truth about oppression, the work of resisting any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity, the work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what, and the work of creating heaven on earth. To be a Unitarian Universalist also means we're not alone in the work. We're not alone because of our promises to love one another. We're not alone because we're companions on the journey. We grow ourselves into allies, helping one another get free, because none of us is truly free until we're all free. In that spirit, I ask you to join in our closing hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, number 1008. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, no matter where we go. Building up a world, I'm going to let it shine. Though this light's out, your light continues in this world. Be known for who you are. Don't let anybody tell you, don't stick your neck out. Don't let anybody mess with your self-esteem. Be you out there, because you are the only one who is you. And the world desperately needs that. Blessings on all of you as you go out into your week and then return again in love. Blessed be all of you.